It was a jump not many of us saw coming. 8 wins in 2024 and then 18 wins in 2025 and a top-of-the-ladder finish. The Crows were a juggernaut last season, playing exciting, attacking footy led by captain Jordan Dawson. Then September rolled around. A winless final series was even more of a shock. So how do the Crows and their coach Matthew Nicks respond in 2026? Nixie, always appreciate your time. How does 2026 find you? You're into your 7th year. Is this kind of where you thought you'd be at?
Probably hoped I'd be here, yeah, still. The stats would have said I shouldn't be. You know, I think it was an average 2-year tenure at our club at the point I took over in 2020. So it's nice that the club's backed me in, and we're working hard at the moment in that frustrating period, you know, between sort of Christmas and the first round.
We can't move forward without looking back first. You had what looked to be an outstanding season in 2025. You finished a game clear on top, but no September wins, out in straight sets. How did you view that, and how have you dealt with the players around that?
Yeah, I think the initial emotion's disappointment, obviously. We had a strong season. I think we got reward by finishing minor premiers. It was great. I think any of 9 teams in reality could have taken that spot. It was such a close season, so we knew that coming in. But we gave ourselves an opportunity in September to play home finals footy. We'll learn a lot from that experience. Huge respect for our opposition who knocked us off. They're obviously all good sides, and they played some great footy, and we weren't at our best at that point, which will hopefully be a really good lesson for us going forward. So
putting all that into perspective, was 2025 a successful season for the Adelaide Crows?
Look, I think it's depends on what you say success is. There's no doubt we had a lot of success in 2025. If you looked at it at the start of the year and said, if you finish minor premiers, would that be a successful season? Obviously. A lot of really good lessons, as I said, so that's a bonus, that's successful, but we want more. And our fans and our members want more, and we're in it to win it. If you ain't first, you're last. I think it was Ricky Bobby. In the end, we, other than Brisbane, we all finished last. So how do we find that next level? That's our challenge.
So we look at 2026, no Isaac Rankin until round 2. Such an important player to the team. How have you dealt with him, knowing he's still going to be missing for a few weeks? And what are your expectations of him in the coming season?
Well, nothing's changed as far as how we've dealt with Isaac. He's trained like everyone else, and he'll work his way through the whole pre-season as though he's playing round 1. The challenge then will be to make sure we've got him fresh enough but fit enough to come in round 2, everything going well. Touch wood, you know. It's that time of the year where injuries is, you know, what you're looking at. We're trying to train right on the level, you know, push the envelope, as some would say, and with that can come injury. But when it comes to Isaac, he's ready to go. Unfortunately, he will have to serve his suspension round 1, but he'll be good to go round 2.
I love what Jordan Dawson's done since he's come to the club as a leader. As a midfielder, he's carried an enormous load. I think when people look at the Crows, they would sit there and say maybe the midfield's a bit of a weakness for the Crows, and there's no big-name recruits in that regard. Where does the improvement come from?
Well, there's organic improvement. I think, you know, we are still a young list, young squad. Guys like Rochelle, we haven't really seen go through that area, and, you know, the last couple of years has had a couple of small setbacks. But I think he's ready to step up. Dan Curtin was one that was coming through, and I think everyone was excited about. And unfortunately, we won't have him there for the first half of the year. But it may be a blessing in disguise for Dan to make sure, you know, he's 20 years old. I think he's got an incredible career ahead of him. So mid-season, we'll get him back fresh and ready to go. But we feel like there's a fair bit of organic growth. We brought in some experience, Neil Bullen, Cal Archie this year. You know, bringing those 2 guys in who can both, you know, move through that midfield, not necessarily in and around stoppage, big bodies, but will definitely add experience and value in around that space. So we're confident we've still got a lot of improvement just purely through our squad as it is, through that midfield area. Understand some of the critics when it comes to, you know, our midfield. We're a little bit young in there, but we're confident we're going to grow in that space.
And just talking about Dan Curtin, we saw him play wing, drift forward, kick goals, had a really good season. Going forward, where do you see him being full-time, or is he always going to be maybe a bit of a swingman?
I think he complements the guys that we have through the mids. What we saw in a short period of time through this break. And again, we don't know until you come up against real opposition. But what we've seen is his growth, him playing alongside an Isaac Rankin or a Jake Saligo or even Jordan Dawson, as you mentioned. He brings a different dynamic to that group. And that's a longer term. That's something down the track. Sam Berry at the moment is one I didn't mention. Is a similar. You know, he's a bigger-bodied midfielder. We'll let him loose. You know, everything going well the start of this season.
All right, now we get to the important stuff. Is it officially Riley Thilthorpe's forward line now?
It depends on who you speak to. No, it's actually, because I know we're referring to Tex, and he's dominated and owned that for 18 years, you know.
And been brilliant.
Unbelievable.
And had another really good year too.
Well, and the same thing happens at this time of the year. You know, people come in and write him off, and then he proves a lot of people wrong. Not everyone, because I think there are some that really do back him in, which is what we've done, and we've done it again this year. And I hope he, again, steps up and does some stuff that everyone smiles and laughs about and says, how do you do it at you know, this age? Riley is starting to impose himself a little more, you know, as everyone does. I think he's a respectful lad. He's well balanced. But now he's starting to own the gym. He's starting to, you know, get a lot more voice out on the training track, and that's part of that is he's learnt from Tex on what it's about to be a leader.
He looks to me like a player that might just explode in 2026 and could dominate the competition. Do you get that feeling?
I hope you're right. I'm excited about what's coming from him in the next 5 years or thereabouts. He's pushing to play a bit of midfield. I know there's a bit of talk around about some other clubs, you know, playing tools through there. He has a unique game. He's got as good a ground ball as anyone. So the game may change a bit in that space. He does say it tongue-in-cheek, but I think deep down, I think he does want to get through there, so it might be something we see at some point.
All right. What about the guys down back? I mean, they need a little bit of love, don't they? Because they have been absolutely brilliant. No one talks about it. They don't get the kudos they deserve. Yeah,
keep it that way if we can. And I mean that respectfully, because they do internally. You know, we have so much respect for our backs and what we've put them under probably for the last 4 or 5 years. We've put them under a lot of pressure and they've stood up. But it is nice to have a backline that just want to grind. And so not being talked about, I think, makes them a bit hungrier and a bit dirtier about where they're at. Let's just keep it that way for
Happy just to keep getting the job done. What about new recruits from the draft? Is there anyone that might make an immediate impact this season?
Well, yeah, there's a few. I mean, we bought a Cat B in Indy Cotton who's really unique, basketball background. He's proving that as a junior he was quite a solid footballer, hasn't played for a long time, so there's still a little bit to go, but he's unique. He's one that I think some are going to be excited by. Marshy's another one. Marshy, again, a unique player in that he played tall through the state champs as a key forward, but he's got an elite running ability, and he could, you know, play on a wing early in his career and maybe get an opportunity through there. So he's one to keep an eye on.
The game's forever evolving. Where do you see it heading? What's becoming most important?
I think a bit of dynamic. You need to have something dynamic. You need to have flexibility. When we talk about our midfield, we feel like we've got that. And some might say our midfield's not strong enough. We feel like our midfield's quite dynamic, and we feel like we've got a lot of flexibility with guys that can come through there. Luke Pedler's really hit his straps this pre-season. We recruited him as a midfielder, and he hasn't quite got his body right to this point, but he's one that can run through there. I mentioned Josh Rochelle before, Alex Neil-Bullen, Cal Archie. These guys can all go through different spots. I think that's where the game's going to head, you know, where you've got multiple players that can go through your midfield spot rather than just one key big-bodied midfielder.
As we look at the game from a broader perspective, what do you make of the wildcard weekend?
Would have liked it a couple of years ago, to be honest. I understand it. You know, that week is an interesting one where it almost like footy stops. So I think that'll be interesting. I tell you what, I'll come back to you if things finish this year, and depending on where things finish. If you do drop in the night, well, I think it's a great decision.
Absolutely.
It'll be one that we'll see.
What about the rule changes and what challenges they may present from a coaching perspective? The last disposal rule in between the arcs.
Well, we're unique in this one because we've seen it in the SANFL. So, you know, our squad, the guys that don't make our AFL side, play in the SANFL.
Do you feel that's an advantage?
Oh, possibly early on. That ability to click into that's actually, you know, a free kick. I quite like the rule, and I know it's controversial. I know a lot of people don't. Watching it in the SANFL, it speeds the game up.
Yeah, it works.
And I think everyone enjoys a game where the ball zings around a bit. So I quite enjoy that introduction.
I think we're all looking forward to seeing that impact. And not having to have players in the goal square to start. Does it give you any more options as a coach, or is it just by the by?
By the by. No-brainer, though, I think. Maybe save some time for centre bounces, and totally understand why we're doing it. But
and that leads into the next one, doesn't it? Ball-ups in the middle. Is that the same thing, a no-brainer, do you think?
Yeah, it'll be interesting how that one plays out on a windy day and so on. But yes, take the bounce out. From what I know, and it's uneducated, it is a tough gig to bounce the ball.
Yep.
And maybe we've got some really good umpires out there that aren't quite getting the top level because of that. So let's hope that's an upside.
Will it change the way you look from a recruiting perspective in terms of the type of ruckman? The jumpers, the bulls, the wrestlers, that sort of thing? Yeah,
that's more the rule change when it comes to the ruck contest, not so much the throwing up. The rule change around not able to cross the line and that they're really looking for jumpers, that's a big one. I think that's going to change list management substantially. And, we'll see a real big shift in that space.
And players are going to have to be smart because there's no ruck nominations now and the umpires aren't going to wait.
Again, let's speed the game up. Let's make it quick and not wait for, Riley and Gorney to come over from 50 metres away if they've both run off in the wrong direction. I think good move again.
Yeah, I'm liking it. The stand rule. Stand, you just stand. No backing back. Again, you're locked in position. We get play moving.
I understand it. I think it's great. Bring it in. But whether it's there for 3 or 4 weeks and then maybe goes back to what it was, we'll see. Like everything, I think our players in our coaching groups are very competitive and we'll find any way we can to manipulate the game to our advantage. That's our job, And I think some clubs did that really well last year in around the stand rule and the game basically went back to what it was. So the AFL have come in. We know what they're trying to get done. It'll just be interesting how hard they are on that rule.
A lot of people have been annoyed with players that shrug to draw the high tackle. That now becomes prior opportunity. A good thing? Yeah,
I think so. I think we still want to see players challenge the tackle, though. The big-bodied player that can really take on and drive through a tackle, we want to see that. But when it is lifting an arm up or it's ducking, to intentionally draw high contact, I think most want that out of the game. There's a few smaller guys that'll probably want to keep it. We've got a couple that...
There's a number of small forwards in the competition that have made an art of it, Nixie.
They're going to have to get quicker, aren't they? They're going to have to get quicker and, find another way.
It's going to be exciting. And what about the Brisbane Lions? They're looking at a three-peat. Got a great age profile. Are they the team to beat again in 2026?
I think there's a number of teams that are going to be very hard to beat. Brisbane obviously being one of those. I think Gold Coast have begun to hit their straps and the list is just very, very deep and talented. And Geelong are going to be there no matter what. That just is what it is. Fremantle coming through as well. So there's I think there's still a lot of teams that can challenge Brisbane, but there's no doubt that if you were to put your money on, they'd be the pick of them.
Mate, love the fact that you've come and spent some time with us. Love the way you're so open and candid about the way you talk about the game, and let's hope it's a really successful season for the Adelaide Crows. Thanks, mate.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Jason. Cheers.